There we go. That's better. That's good. Let's go to 710. I got that side tone, but it's not horrible. Gonna need new radio soon. Alright, put that back on 28.1, 21.8, squelched, okay. Alright, outside air temperature, 36 degrees. So I think the last day of October, first day of January. It's cold. It's actually quite cold. Okay, struggle for straps. The only actual stretching exercises I ever do. Reaching for the straps. Message what? Okay, Barrow said, yeah, I'll get to that. It's really high. It's like 3043 or something crazy like that. I mean, you can barely walk under the pressure. It's just like being at the bottom of the ocean. I have no empirical evidence of that or actual experience, but it is a lot of pressure. Alrighty. Okay. Another strap. I'm bulkier than usual because I have my winter coat on. Makes me feel bloated. Okay. There we go. One more strap and we'll have it done. Where are you? Probably under the seat cushion. There we go. Oh, Barrow setting, still not happy. All right. Plus 343 might be too much. Let's go down back here and see if it likes that any better. We'll learn soon enough when we talk to the tower. Okay, 70 on the oil. We got a ways to go on that. Density altitude minus 925 feet. It's really dark down here, almost 1,000 feet under the ground. Okay, let's see, go back. I want to check. I guess usually I tell you what I'm getting ready to do today. Obviously I'm getting ready to fly. I have, well, let's see. I guess I have to go through the whole litany here. I have other people flying the airplane now. I may or may not have mentioned that. As such, my maintenance standards and such are a little higher than they had been. Primarily on the subject of the checklist. The checklist and the POH I have is 7 or 8 years old and has been updated in the interim by Vance. So I felt that I should actually get a newer POH, and that's $30 plus shipping, and I said no. You can, I have all the plans. I bought the $10 USB stick with plans. It includes the latest POH. You can also get it off the revision page. But the way they do it is somewhat silly. It's a PDF. Everyone know my passcode? It's a PDF. Oh, there's a game I was playing. Okay, we got all kinds of interesting stuff here. All right, let's go. Got a new Wi-Fi password because I forgot the old one. I won't forget it again. I wrote it down this time. So I got to go into my Wi-Fi. Not connected. Presumably it's working. There it is. I'm not sure I have the right password. I probably don't. Let's see if I got... Oh, I got the same password as I did before. I made up a new password. It's the same as the old password. What a coincidence. Nope. Now we're not connected. So maybe not. Maybe I do need a password update. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Incorrect password. I have no idea where to set that. Okay, it's right here. So I got to do Shift N and then 284. And don't you guys be pirating my Wi-Fi now. DG. Ah, damn it. This is so stupid. Alright. One more try. N284. This is very imaginative password. DG. And what I forgot is it has to be 8 characters, so I was forgetting to put the 00 on the end, so that should work. Alright, now we're all hooked up to the Skyview in theory, and we can go to our ForeFlight, which we don't even need, but I wanted to update the password. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to do is update the password. The other thing I've done, I was talking about the checklist. The checklists were woefully out of date. I looked at the modern, more up-to-date checklists on the Vance file, and there was more information in there, but it was still, in my opinion, awkwardly done. There were things I just thought were in wrong order. There's things they talked about that I think really don't belong in a checklist. They were too detailed. There were things that, I just thought I could do better. And I did, a few years ago, sit down when I still remember how to program a computer before I retired and forgot all that. Wrote a program to make it really, really easy to create checklists, custom checklists. So I built out my own checklist, and I was just getting ready to look and see if I did that correctly. So tools, checklist. Okay, starts with pre-start, which I'm already past. So presumably, I would have had the master switch on. Skyview would have come awake. So my pre-start is fuel. Check minimum 4 gallons because that's the very first thing I'll check. I actually did it during pre-flight.
56315.
But
56315, bone ground.
Yeah, coming out from the T's, like the
yeah, so Vance has me wait a while before I check 4 gallons, but I'm not going anywhere with less than 4 gallons because it's a requirement. So first thing to check. Second thing to check is make sure that fuel valve is down. And when I was the only one flying the airplane, it was highly unlikely to ever be in a position I didn't put it, but you know, you still check it. Now I've got other people flying it that may or may not turn that off for whatever reason. So you check that. Passenger briefing, perform. So that's basically, this is an experimental airplane. Here's how your seatbelt works. That's the next thing. Belt's fastened and latched. I'm not hiding the engine gauges, which would make these words show up completely, but I know what they are, so it's fine. So seatbelt's fastened and latched. Canopy latched, open or closed. Now, Vans had canopy latched, which is all well and good. But in the summer, you've seen me fly in the summer, I leave it propped open, and there is a little catch now, so it won't fly open, but I want it latched, whether it be open or closed. Throttle full back, we're getting ready to start the engine is why. Ignition's on, which I've obviously already done, and nav strobe, which I should have turned on before. That's to alert people that I'm getting ready to start an engine. Around here, there's really not a lot of people just wandering around like there would be on a public ramp, for example, so it's a nice to have, and you know, but when I'm sitting right here, I'm not all that worried about it. So we've done the pre-start, we're at engine start, which again, I've already done. Go on over there. Okay, do not attempt to start engine when it's minus 25 Celsius or above 50 Celsius, which is really, really cold and really, really hot, and I'm not even out of the house under that. I just can't see that ever being an issue because I'm never going to do it. Limit the use of the starter motor to 10 seconds duration maximum. Allow a 2-minute cooling off period between each starter engagement. If this airplane engine, this Rotax, if it's not started in the first 3 or 4 seconds, there's something wrong. I guess I would crank 10 seconds if I had to, but I've never had to come anywhere near that. That would indicate a bigger problem, potentially the fuel valve being turned off, which I addressed in the first checklist. Fuel pressure normal. Now I'm up in the yellow here. So what's really normal on fuel pressure? To me, I notice a big difference between, I wonder what that is really at. I've noticed a fairly big difference. Maybe if I just look at that, go away. There we go. Between high pressure days, 30, 38, low pressure days, 28 something in a hurricane, and having a full tank or an empty tank, it will get periodically just up into this yellow, and down in the red, down low on a very low pressure day and only 4 gallons of fuel, or I'm not flying anyway, it might get into red down there. So the definition of normal is what I'm used to seeing across the years of flying this airplane. So I'm not a lot worried that that's like a 10th up into the yellow there, but I wouldn't want it clear up into red on either side or clear down to the red. So fuel pressure normal. Cold start, throttle closed. You have to have that throttle closed or the choke won't work. Choke, pull, and turn knob. I wanted to write gently in there, but I ran out of space on the page. Warm start is when you do, almost like you do a Cessna, you have that in there a little bit and you don't need to choke and you just crank it. So brakes hold, makes sense. Propeller clear, makes sense. Oil pressure gauge monitor. So what I want is you're looking at that oil pressure gauge. I want you to monitor it as you engage the starter, because when the engine starts, I've got here oil pressure check at least 12 psi within 10 seconds, and I'd really like it to happen faster than that. If not present, immediately shut down engine, parenthetically, before it eats itself alive. In cold weather, leave the choke on until the engine can be run without it. It may be necessary to advance the throttle slowly while closing the choke. Now, I didn't need to do that today. At 36 degrees, the engine was fine. When it gets really cold, I have to kind of advance the throttle and slowly and just kind of balance them together to keep it running. When you're done, close the choke. Yep. Throttle set for 1800 to 2500. I would set it to 2500 right now. That's the top of the little green arc. I would do that if it was really cold and I was having a lot of trouble getting oil up to temp. Don't really need to do that today. So I leave it down at about, well, what have I got right now? About 2000, 2100. Ammeter may be showing a 0 charging. It actually, at idle, may be showing negative charging. If the battery has been depleted, like it was after I did the annual, I had the battery worn way down. I had done the backup power test on this thing. That battery was way down. So what I really want to see, if it's charging, great. If it's 0 or see that just dipped into -1, I want to come up with the throttle a little bit. And I want to see it start to climb. So now up to 2. It's not going to take much more than that because it doesn't need it. But I just want to see that with increased RPM, the ammeter starts to charge. So add throttle up RPM, ensure ammeter value increases, make sure the ammeter is charging or at least chargeable. Avionics switch on, which I'd already done just to get this thing working. Autopilot switch is probably already on. because I was doing a map update. I was updating the database for the new map update, and it insists on the autopilot being turned on to do that, so that's already turned on. And that's the end of basically our engine start. So we go back, taxi, all right, engine gauges check. Really, the engine gauges, I'm not worried about the volts right now. That'll come up again with the RPM. I can prove that just by adding some throttle. See the volts coming up. Should be there. I got it up into the green, so I know that's working. Again, I'm not overly worried about the fuel. Oil pressure is really jumping around a little bit here, and that is a bit of a concern. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. That's actually something that's brand new right now. Never done that before. Let's see what happens when that's settling down a little bit. It is jumping around a little bit. We'll see what happens with a run up. I'll do a little bit of run. There, it's settled down. Now, that could be the probe. That could be the oil pump. That's something I'm really going to have to watch. Taxi using 1825 until 2500 until you get 120 degrees higher on the oil. Flight instruments verify correct. So verifying flight instruments on an EFIS is basically all you can really do. The altimeter responds to a barometer setting. If we had enough wind, I'd be getting a little airspeed, but you can taxi up a little bit. And first thing you want to do, what I should have in here is check brakes. Oh, there they are. Brakes, release and test. Okay. I want to see if that's turning. It's turning left. I'm getting the indicator there. It's turning right. So that's all that. Now, I don't have anything behind me anymore. I'm going to go ahead and run the engine up and see what happens with this oil pressure right quick, just because this is new. I'm solid now. Okay. Right in the green. Okay. All right, so that must be an idle thing. It may have always been that way, and I never noticed it until I got this fancy new checklist. So that's the taxi. Basically, we'll taxi to the end of the runway. I don't need that anymore. That takes us to before takeoff, which we'll do down at the runway. So I can turn the checklist back off. And let's go ahead and go back. I'll put in a direct to, let's go out to KUIF, just so I have something in the system here. And direct to, okay, and then back up to here. So we're ready to go. Radio is going to work or not. I'm going to pop over to another frequency. I'm going to pop over to 22 something or 27 something. Yes, it's got that big hum. Now the tower's been complaining about that. I'm not complaining about the tower complaining. He's been pointing out to me that my radio's terrible. I am actually starting the budgeting process to get a new radio. I'm just fed up with this thing. Vance has a Garmin, I think it's a GTR 200 Bravo, which will fit right in here. I've heard you might have to file a little bit off here, but it'll fit right in there. Of course, it comes with the mounts, the tray, and it comes with a conversion cable to go from this radio, the SL40, to that new radio. So they send all that as part of the kit. So I'm trying to scare up the pennies for that. Had a little bit of an expense coming with the camper. We took the camper out, and one of us, me or my wife, and I'm not saying who, closed the awning, and as closing the awning, it stopped moving, and the person in question just kept holding the button down. It was caught against an open door. The bedroom door's open. It was caught on that, and it struggled so hard that it bent one of the big arms. So now the thing hangs out, and it's basically broken. So that's going to cost a fortune. So got some expenses coming. I don't know about a radio. This tends to work a little bit better once it warms up a little bit, but that's really awful. He'll complain about that. I'm not sure what to do about it. I'll see if I can get out of here with it. And what happens, I'll go fly around a little bit and I come back and it seems to work fine. So engine heat, warming it up, I don't know, but it is what it is. Let's see if I can get taxi clearance in any event. We should be able to get the weather by now. Info and weather. So we got, on altimeter is way down here somewhere. 3041, yeah, 3041. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. I'm under a lot of pressure. All right. Back. Okay, I dread using this radio. I don't know what else to do though. I'll give it a try. Let's scoot on up here. But he has been commenting on it. Yeah, that oil pressure, I don't know. We're gonna keep an eye on that. I don't know what else to do about it. It is, well, see, it's dipping out of the green. I got oil, I checked the oil. I don't get out here and run it up again and see what happens before we go all the way down to the end of the runway. Let it run for a while here. Yeah, it's solid up here. Rock solid. All right. That may have always been that way. And I might have to block your view a little bit here, folks. Go. I gotta be able to see what I'm doing. I dread this. Here we go. Oh, that's terrible. I can't do this. I don't think it's the headset. I've tried different headsets. Well, I can't fly it like this. So, I think we're going back to the hangar. I'm gonna have to get that radio ordered. I don't know what to do. I can taxi around a little bit. Sometimes it's better after flying it, like I said. See if it warms up a little bit. But I don't know. Radio, I'm going to call Vans. I think the entire kit, the radio, it's a Bluetooth radio. It's a very, very nice radio. The radio and the harness and the mounting brackets and all that are reportedly around $1,500, which in the grand scheme, I'm going to pay more than that for the landing lights. But I just paid for the landing lights, so there's that. You know, we don't really maintain a healthy maintenance budget on this airplane because it is actually very cheap to fly. Relatively cheap to maintain. I just put $800 into the nose gear, which I'm not thrilled with, but that's the cost of flying. Alright, now I'm going to get back on 22.7 or something like that. Oh, that's gotten even worse. That's actually even worse than it was. I for a while thought only I was hearing that side tone, but the last time I flew, the tower was, I can barely hear you, and I thought he actually said, I thought you were going to get that fixed. I'm working on it. It's a process. So, oh well. Yeah, we're done for the day. Oh, one thing I can do, I can try slipping it out of the tray and putting it back in. This is not the normal symptom for when it needs that. It really just, the whole thing goes bad. Intercom and everything goes bad. But I'm going to try it. I carry the tool with me. I'm just going to get down here, probably out of everybody's way right here. I don't think anybody's going to come up behind me here. Alright. I'm going to turn this off for a little while I work on this. Took me a while to find the tool, so now I just screw it out and screw it back in again. I did want to mention, after I put in the lights, a friend of mine reminded me I should check my operating limitations to make sure I'm allowed to fly this at night, and sure enough, I'm not. It was written as day VFR only. Reason for that was, back then, it's an LSA airplane and I was an LSA pilot and I flat didn't care. But I needed to get that changed. So what I did, I thought it would be a big hassle, honestly. I'm not saying, I just thought it'd be a big hassle typically because everything is a big hassle. So I fired off, actually I called the local FSDO and talked to the guy in the inspection department, and he said, well, that's pretty straightforward. You know, tell me about your letter, send me a copy of your letter. So I sent him a PDF of the letter, and right on first page he found what it was. You know, it was item number 10, day VFR only. He says, well, tell you what, just go out to your hangar, get a picture of the lights, get a picture of your logbook entry that you've installed the lights, send that to me, and I will send you a side letter stating that item 10 is no longer valid, and just carry that with you when you fly the airplane. And I mean, it took all of 2 hours for him to get it to me, which, you know, was actually quite rapid. He's, I guess, one of the only guys there because they're all COVIDed out and everything. So I was extremely, their attitude, their helpful, it was an extremely positive interaction with the FAA. So that was easy enough. Now this is going to not work. Oh, that fixed it. Okay, well. Okay, well, we learned something today. 121.8. Okay, and I want to go back to that. All right, so I guess we're going flying. I'm not even bother to put the iPad back. Don't really need it. Okay, so I got all seat belted up again. Camera's running again. I got you guys kind of pointed down at the floor. All right, so as long as this works a little bit longer, we should be able to go flying. And so it's not hard to do that. I wouldn't want to do it while I was flying. I guess I could put it on the autopilot and do it. I'm frustrated I have to do it. Something in the connector, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not the radio. So, well, even with a new radio, I'd get a new connector. I don't know if there's a loose pin. I don't know what's going on with it. It's audio problems are just extraordinarily frustrating for me. All right, so it looks like we will be heading on down to the runway and doing some flying.
284 Delta, got on ground, runway 4 taxi via taxiway Bravo Alpha, wind 1403, altitude is 3043.
Bravo to Alpha to runway 4, 4 Delta Golf.
And 3043, it's jumping around a little bit. Oh, I took that off the published weather, not the current weather. I always have to update by a 10th or 100th or so. They're not always in agreement. All right, so we're down to Alpha 4, or down to runway 4, which is a long walk, but that's okay. It's a nice day for a walk. What is the temperature now? It's getting warmer, I think. 39 degrees, so it's warming up quite nicely. The sun helps quite a bit. All right, so what we'll do today, we'll get back to the checklist, because on the checklist I have also added normal takeoff, obstacle takeoff, and soft field takeoff. Man, we'll do a normal takeoff out of here. We'll go over to Madison County, and then I'll do a soft field takeoff and an obstruction takeoff. And to simulate the soft field, this airplane is so easy. I mean, it's so easy to get this thing off the ground. I think out at Madison County, I'll limit my takeoff RPM to like maybe 4,500 RPM instead of 55, just to simulate the wheels dragging through the grass, and we'll do it that way. I may do the same thing on the obstacle, because if you're carrying a passenger, it does make a huge difference. If you have full tank, it does make a huge difference. So with just me in it, going at full RPM, it's off the ground in like 400 yards or 400 feet. I mean, it's just nothing. There's all takeoffs are pretty much the same because they happen in 3 or 4 seconds. So we'll head out there and do that. Landings, it's the same thing. I mean, there's a short field landing. There's not really a soft field landing. I'll do a soft field landing generally is keep the nose wheel up in a Cessna or whatever. Well, you do that anyway in a Vans airplane. That's automatic. You definitely baby the nose. So there's not really much difference there. The obstacle landing is basically the only difference is coming down final at 55 knots instead of 60, and which is going to give you a steeper descent over the obstacle. Presumably an obstacle landing is different than a short field landing. The obstacle being at the landing side of the runway, not the I couldn't get stopped in time side of the runway. So I assume you're trying to come down over some trees or whatever, power lines or whatever. So that's the plan for today. It's really just, well, seeing if I could get the radio to work, which as we found out I can, temporarily at least, and just getting some flying in because it's been a while. I have been flying the CAP airplane. I've got 2 more lessons, or not lessons, I'm working towards my check ride with them. I have 2 more flights, Monday and Tuesday. I'm struggling with the G1000 because I've been flying so infrequently. Just getting through the pre-flight was costing me $20 because the Hobbs is running. So I went up there yesterday with the major there, Joe. You've flown with me and Joe. And we sat down and I went through the checklist a number of times. And the checklist, as far as turning on switches and such and starting engines, that's all straightforward. It's when you get into the Skyview, there's things that they like. A lot of people fly that airplane, so things can happen in the Skyview the G1000 settings. So there's a lot of things they like to check in there, and I was struggling with remembering that, and I'd come up, go check to see if the data logger is on. I don't know, what page is that on again, that kind of thing. And flight planning, I was very slow at entering waypoints and such forth. So just sat there on an APU, so we didn't kill the battery, and went through it a few times. Some of the things that are best practices that aren't necessarily in the regulation checklist, but are best practices, here comes the banner tow guy, have to do with getting into the G1000. I gotta stop saying Skyview. Getting the G1000 and looking to make sure the WAS is turned on, things like that. Getting rid of user waypoints and all that stuff. So I have a little side checklist because that's not actually in the checklist. I wrote a little side checklist to remind me how to do that. And I'll probably go up there tomorrow morning. If Noah's going to be flying the plane tomorrow, I'll just sit there and go through it a few more times. So when I get in with the instructor again on Monday, I can just get through that stuff and we can get in the air. And then the paperwork, I'm trying to get a little bit better at all the paperwork I have to. It's online. I call it paperwork. It's online, but there's an awful lot of friction to using the airplane in getting all the information into the system and all that. Creating a sortie, closing a sortie, briefing, debriefing, that kind of stuff. So trying to get up to speed on that. And then I've got a check ride. Not too nervous about the check ride, and a little nervous about the oral exam because it's going to be FARs, and I should know FARs. I should know the federal regulations. But it's also CAP regulations on top of that. They have different minimums and things like that I'll have to try to remember. I don't know why I don't have my weather yet. My ADS-B doesn't seem to be working. Is that turned on? Avionics on, strobe, landing lights. Go ahead and turn on the landing light. Autopilot's on. I don't have radar for whatever. No signal on ADS-B. Well, we'll see what happens when we get in the air. It's just the weather that's not showing. don't need it, there is none. Okay, so if we wanted to do this now, we would go to Tools, and we go to Checklist, and we'll go to before takeoff. Brakes hold, good, that makes sense. Flight controls free, correct. Yeah, right, left, yep. You see the rudder? I can barely see the rudder. Okay, heading track bug, set runway heading. This is a habit Cap got me into, and habits cross airplanes. So I do what I can do in this airplane that I do in the 182, I do in this airplane. So we're taking off on runway 4, so we're going to dial that up. We're going to put this on 040. It probably is not exactly 040, but we're going to reset it anyway. Fuel valve check open. Now that one's kind of redundant, but I still do it. Trim set for takeoff. That's important. That's right there. I should copy out here. I go on down here. Okay, trim. Okay. Flaps set for takeoff. Up or one notch, depending on the type of takeoff you're going to do. I'm going to leave them up. Canopy latch closed this time, so not just latch, but latch close. Engine run up. You got to have 122 degrees. All right, that's fine. Stick back. Throttle 4,000 RPM. Or thereabouts. RPM drop 300 on each side, allowable. And we got nowhere near 36 on that one, and then you should need to be within 115 of each other. That used to be 120, so that came from the new checklist. Max engine instruments checked, so now I definitely have ammeter charging. I definitely have my volts, so that's why we check that. So there's ammeter check positive this time. It should not be showing a drain, and then throttle back to idle. And that's a pretty low idle, so let's keep that back up there. Fuses check, and that would just be a light. There would be a red light come on if anything was blowing. I've not had the landing lights fuse blow again since I put a 7.5 in there, which is the new spec. I'm actually still 5 amps on the comm, but they've changed that to 7.5, and my theory was because the newer Garmin radio drew more power, and as it turns out, it probably does. This is an 8-watt radio, the new one's a 10-watt radio, so that's up to 7.5, but I've not done it because I don't need it. Seatbelt harnesses, and I'll do it if I can do radio. Landing line steady or pulse, I'm going to put it on pulse, that makes us easier to see. Flight timer, I'm not going to bother with. Passenger brief on takeoff and egress, how to get out of the airplane, what to do if something bad happens on takeoff, and we're done with that. So let's go back to that one. Now it's brief our takeoff. Normal takeoff, flaps up, that is done. Head track, reset when lined up on runway, that gets us a nice straight track. I want the track to be where we're going, not the head, I want the track. Stick full aft, throttle smoothly full open, control stick hold half aft until nose wheel lift, ease stick pressure, keep nose wheel just off runway. Airplane will lift off runway at 50 to 55 knots, climb at 75, which is VY, that's your best climb. It's not max, not angle, it's max climb. Trim as required, well that's obvious. And we'll talk about the other ones later, so we're ready to go there. We're back to the PFE, we want to turn off, let's see, I guess the best way to turn off that, let's see, I gotta get back to tools. I should have turned the checklist off first. There we go, checklist, there we go. I do need to add a step. I need to add a step to check that I'm squawking 1200. After that flight up to Burke Lakefront with Joe, the next day I flew, I was taxiing out and realized I was squawking 0707 or something like that. I was not squawking VFR. I need to add that as a checklist item. I think we're drawing on the amps right now because of the lights. The lights pull a little bit more power than the airplanes used to. All right, so we're going to go over to the tower. That should work, hopefully. I've got my heading lined up. We're ready to go. I'm going to creep on up here and be ready. And let's see, we're departing VFR West round. I think it's what total. We're on runway 4.
Hold tower, experimental 284 Delta Golf, ready for takeoff. Runway 4, departing VFR westbound.
Experimental 284 Delta Golf on tower, turn left on course, runway 4, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 4, left on course, 4 Delta Golf.
All right, so we got the stick half aft, or more. I usually do a little bit more. Once that nose wheel comes up, I'm going to not let it come way up. I'm just going to hold it just off the runway, and then we just wait for the airplane to fly away. And how's our oil pressure's rock solid now? That's good. All right, so stick, holding it back, holding it back, holding it back. There's my nose coming up. Easy to stick. I'm basically at neutral stick right now. And boom, we flew off at 55. There it is. Now I go ahead and I'm flying down the runway. I'm going to hold this down to set my track. I'm going to dial my design. I usually wait till about 500 feet before I do anything, but we're going to go up to 3,500 feet. I got that set in. I'm going to trim as required. We wanted 75 knots. That looks about right. I'm going to let it get a little higher before I turn on the autopilot, just in case it does something wiggy. I want to be about 500 feet for that. And that's coming up. So I'm going to turn on autopilot. That's going to put me in roll and pitch hold. I want to go to track, and I want to go to altitude, and I want to go up. So I'm tracking 052, 600 feet per minute to my altitude of 3,500 feet. I'm going to turn us on course using the track knob. I do not want to hit the nav knob right now because that would make it a very abrupt turn back to the direct-to course, and I don't want that. I want to kind of ease into that course. And there's a checklist for this, but I'm not going to do it right now. It basically says the same thing. Get your autopilot set up, use track. I'm going to set an intercept course. But if I hit nav right now, it's going to shoot all the way over there. It's going to try to intercept it at a 90-degree angle, and that's too much. So I'm going to fly track until I get aligned with the nav line. Then I'm going to go to nav, and then it'll follow the purple line to Madison County. In theory. I get a little heat in here, too. And I'm going to stay about 5,000 RPM. That's a good climb speed. We're doing 600 foot per minute at 100 knots at 5,000 RPM. I don't want to get greedy. So now I think right now if I hit nav, what you would see, let's do it, it's going to jerk us over there. Now let's go back to track. And what I can do instead, if I was far enough away, I think you have to be a few miles away. If I was far enough away, it would follow whatever track I gave it to intercept. But since we're so close, it's going to go back to nav. So I'm going to go ahead and get us in there. And once I get close, then I can go to nav, and it's going to be a much less abrupt angle. If I was 2 or 3 miles away, it would say, well, first of all, if I was 2 or 3 miles away and I didn't have track, and I was on track but I was pointing away from the nav course, it would never do anything. It would not engage nav mode. I would have to turn the track back to where it's going to intercept the nav mode somewhere, and it would follow that track until it got there, and then it would adjust. But right now, it just goes boom and tries to get there. All right, so we got some traffic out there. Doesn't look horrible. We're out of his airspace. We can go over to, well, let's do it the right way. Let's go to map, info, Madison County, 123.0. So I can go to COM. I'm going to go ahead and load up the AWAS, tune COM. It's right there, 20.85. Bring it over. Then I'm going to load up the Unicom, 123.0.
Madison County Airport. Automated weather observation. 135 Zulu.
I'll stop shouting at you.
140 at 7. Visibility 10. Clear below 1.
That's going to be runway 9.
Temperature 3 Celsius. Dew point 1. Altimeter 3041.
And they're down to 41. Okay, so we're going to keep changing the altimeter all day. All right, so we're just about to our altitude.
Madison County Airport. Automated.
So we get the traffic now. This should start telling me I'm going to intercept at 3,500. I'll get a little, there it goes. It's flashing. Altitude 3,500, so it's 100 feet to go. We're still tracking 276. We're still really not on the nav line, so I'm still reluctant to go. Well, let's go ahead. Let's just get on over there. So nav, that's going to pull us over to the course. We're not very far off of it, so it's going to be a kind of a gentle intercept. There we go.
Medina, Comanche Nunnery, Papa, 4 miles to the...
And we're going to do a left downwind for Niner.
Set up for 45, left downwind, runway 19, full stop.
Now, we don't need 5 downwind, we'll go back down. So, once it leveled off, it unloaded the prop, the engine got up to about 5,200 RPM, which is fine, but it's wasteful. So, I pull it back to around 48 or 4,900 if I'm just cruising. Saves me a little gas. Now, this is our altitude. We have traffic, our altitude, 4.5 miles away. I don't see them. And probably won't. Now, one thing I can do, this is taking us straight to the runway, but I really want to be on left downwind. I want to be north of the runway. It's an east-west runway. So I really don't need nav mode. I'm going to set my track. I'm holding this, and as soon as I turn on track, nothing should happen because I've reset it. And I'm going to crank it over here to set us up for the downwind.
Zulu's 11 miles to the north inbound landing, planning on entering the pattern for 3.
X-ray, downwind, runway 4, full stop.
All right. Oil pressure is rock solid. That must be an idle thing. I'm happy about that, though.
County Airport. Automated weather observation. 1354 Zulu. Weather. Wind 140 at Niner. Visibility 10. Clear below 12 temperature 4 Celsius. Dew point 1, altimeter 3041.
All right, stay with that for a while. Got the airport in sight. We can go down. Let's do a cruise descent. There is a descent checklist also. Basically, it asks you to keep the power up as much as you can to keep the oil and everything warm. It's easier on the engine. It's rather than pull it to idle and put it in a steep descent where then the air is basically windmilling the propeller. They don't want you to do that. So they want you to keep your power up. But we're going to go down to 3,000, so I'm going to go altitude, and here's 35, 34, 33, 32, 3,000. Nothing has happened. Not a thing is going to happen until I say down. And now we're going to go down to 500 foot per minute. I can adjust that right here with the vertical speed knob. I'm going to turn that up to minus 300. We're not in that big of a hurry. I have it to default. It's a setting to have it default to 500 foot per minute down, 600 foot per minute up. But I can always just adjust it with this knob. Now see, we're picking up airspeed. I'm going to go ahead and pull the throttle.
Fuel they do have, yep. Okay, I don't think there's anybody in the office now, but
We're just about on the 3-degree glide slope for 27 if we cared. I could do VNAV, it would take us right down there.
that's affirmative.
All right, so we're minus 300 feet to the chosen altitude. It points at ALT. Chosen altitude is 3,000. We're at 32, so it's going to start engaging. It'll start engaging about 31 or 3220, or I'm sorry, 3120 or 31, and it's going to start flashing. So there's 3140, 3120. And here comes 31. Now we should start flashing. Okay. Now there's 3080. Well, maybe it has to do with the descent rate. It should start to engage. There it goes. So it has to do with the descent rate. So now it's flashing out 3000, telling me that it's getting ready to level off. I'm going to take my track. I'm going to run it parallel to the runway now. This is my track, not my heading. So if I make this parallel to the runway, that's what we're going to do. There's departing traffic I haven't heard from, which is odd. I see him. I'm on 23.0. Let's make sure I'm on the right frequency. It says so right here, 123 KUIF. Okay. Where did he go? I saw him for a second. Now he's gone. Right in front of us, but 1,000 below. All right, so we're almost to the pattern. I'm going to take our altitude down to 2,500. Well, let's make 2,000. Pattern altitude's 2,100. We'll go down to that. So down. Let's see if it goes back to yeah, it goes back to 500 foot per minute, which I'm fine with right now. And I'm going to make a radio call.
County system 4826 Golf, left downwind for 9, touch and go, Madison County.
That's okay. There he is. He was talking. I wasn't listening.
Madison County traffic, experimental 284 Delta Golf. We are 3 miles to the east. We are also going to enter a left downwind runway 9er, touch and go.
Did I say 9er or 1-9er? I don't know. I think 9er. And I'm looking for that guy. He was big, bright white high wing. I should be able to see him. I'm going to slow down. Might be one of those slower high wings, like a Piper or something. Until I get eyes on him. He's actually 2.5 miles in front of us. I'd like to be able to see him. But we'll slow down. There's no reason to go barreling into the pattern. Let's verify that pattern altitude. It is 2,100 feet. Okay. Where is he? Catching up with him.
Middletown traffic, Skyhawk 23, Papa Echo, Honor down on the runway 23, Middletown traffic.
Where is he? There he is. Oh, he's down low. Okay, well, we're up high. He's down low. He's on his left base, about just maybe 5 seconds from turn and final, so we can actually speed up a little bit. We don't need to stay slow now that I know where he is. Well, he is a stop and go or touch and go, whatever. I don't really do touch and goes. I do slow and goes to try to keep the nose wheel from spinning up a lot. It makes the whole thing wobble. So I try to get down to about 35 knots or so and then go from there and get that nose up right away just to keep it from getting so full of speed that it wobbles the whole airplane like it does now. We're pretty far out on downwind here. All right, there's our 2,100. I'm disengaging the autopilot. We're above flap speed. We'll get the flaps down here once we're beeping the numbers.
Traffic sky 436 Golf, turning final for touch good on Madison.
Alright, I just trimmed to takeoff because that actually turns out to be a really good approach speed too. Gives me just what I want. And I just managed with power. It's 70 knots right now. I tend to do 80, 70, 60. I'm already down to 70, so we'll carry that through base. We're to beam him now. So if I turn now, I'm going to be a bit high though, so I'm going to come out a little bit more. But we are pretty far out. I've got a crosswind is what happened to drift us away from the runway. Alright, we turn left base.
Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf, left base, runway 9er, touch and go, traffic in sight.
Alright, so we'll hold our 70 here, more or less. Let the airplane come down. And we've got full flaps. That's basically our pre-landing checklist, just put down the flaps. He's on the roll. He may end up catching up with us. Alright, picking up some speed there. Oh, we got a headwind here too. It's gonna take us a while. It's gonna be a lengthy base leg. The guy taxiing is either taxiing out or taxiing back to the hangar after buying gas. He is, looks like, I can't tell yet. I think he's taxiing out for departure. Gonna keep an eye on him. The other guy is off, but not yet turned crosswind.
Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf, turning final, runway 9er, touch and go, Madison County.
And we may just depart on out of here, I don't know. See how busy it stays. Alright, now we want our 60 knots. We got a hell of a crosswind. Actually, it has shifted around to basically being a headwind at this point. There's our 60 knots-ish. Correcting into the wind. It seems so slow. Alright, dipping the wing into the wind. Still at 60 knots. They painted the numbers anyway. They haven't painted the runway, but they didn't paint the numbers. And we're going to hold it off, hold it, we're a little high, come on. There we go, that wasn't bad.
County system,
hold that nose up.
4836 Golf, turning left downwind.
Hold that nose up.
One touch and go, Madison County.
And flaps are up, and around we go. Oop, I just touched the nose. Alright. So now I won't get that wobble because I didn't get that nose wheel all spun up. And we're a beam him. Alright, flaps up. That's our climb checklist. We'll extend out a little bit to let him get in front of us more. We do have a departure coming behind us.
Middletown traffic.
And this time I believe you. Alright. Where is he? He's pretty far ahead of us. And we'll just keep our speed down.
Middletown traffic, Skyhawk 23 Papa Echo. Our downwind to runway 23, Middletown traffic.
There's pattern altitude. I'm going to keep my speed down. I don't want to catch up with him. I'd like to fly a little bit tighter downwind than that.
Victor Alpha's over flying northbound at 3,000.
Departure's still sitting there. So this one I'm going to pull, I'll do a stop, full stop, get off on the taxiway, and then we'll do one of the specialty takeoffs. I'll have to decide which one I want to do.
Madison County Cessna 4836 Golf, base 409, Madison County.
Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf, midfield, left downwind, runway 9er, this will also be a full stop.
Also be a full stop, I just threw in an extra word I didn't need. All right, let's get those flaps down. Ka-chunk and ka-chunk. We could try the 55 knot final, which would be your obstacle landing. It's gonna, well, that wind, it's gonna be like we're sitting still. All right, we're
Middletown traffic, Skyline 355, Victor Alpha is right downwind.
And given the headwind we have on base leg, we can go ahead and turn.
Middletown traffic, Skyhawk 2355 Echo, on base to runway 23, Middletown traffic.
Madison County traffic, Sperma 4 Delta Golf, left base, runway 9er, full stop, Madison County.
Archer could go if he wanted to. Give it a little more trim this time because I'm going so much slower than usual. I'm going to keep us at 60 here because I don't want to make a turn at 55.
All right, Madison County traffic, Twin Cessna 6640 Charlie departing runway 9. Madison County.
And 4 Delta Golf is just getting ready to turn left on runway 9.
Off of runway 9?
Landing runway 9.
Got in sight. Thanks for the call. Madison County, Cessna 436 Golf, departing Madison County, northeast towards OSU, Madison County.
All right, there's 57. I'm going to hold it high a little bit. We won't have any trouble stopping before that first turn off. There's 57. I can't get it slowed down. I don't have the balls for it. There's 55. Woo, boy, it just wants to fall out of the sky, doesn't it? Oh yeah, you get a nice descent angle there. You need to flare when you get there. Come on, whoa, flare we go. There we go. Flare we go. That's a new expression I just invented. Flare we go. All right, and we'll get out of his way momentarily.
Madison County traffic, Twin Cessna 6640 Charlie, line up and wait. Runway 9.
Yeah, you won't have to wait very long.
Madison County traffic, 4 Delta Golf, clear the runway.
And there he goes. Let's see, soft field. You know what? I've done soft field at Mount Victory before. There's videos of that. We're going to do an obstacle. So that's basically, we did an obstacle landing. We'll do an obstacle takeoff. Let's go ahead and bring that checklist up. Tools, checklist. Takeoff normal, I don't want that. Obstacle. All right, heading track, reset when lined up on runway. Okay, do that. Flaps down to first attempt. Let's do that now.
Madison County 6640 Charlie is going to be taxiing back to runway 9.
Uh-oh. Something wrong. Okay. Control stick full aft. Throttle smoothly full open. Brakes. Hold until full power. Ooh, it's going to be straining. Control stick hold aft until nose wheel lifts. Maintain stick pressure to maintain aggressive nose attitude. Lift off 50 to 55. Climb at 60 until clear of obstacle. Once clear of obstacle, 65 to 75 knots, flaps up. Okay, the flaps up is the one I'm going to highlight that because I tend to forget it. All right, so got the flaps down. First detent, not all flaps, just one notch. There's only 2 notches. Control stick all the way back. Throttle smoothly open, holding the brakes. Let her go. Get that nose wheel up. Don't let the tail strike. Climb off at 50. Get the nose a wee bit down and climb at 60. Then flaps up. All right. Clear? Yep.
Madison County traffic, Spiral 284 Delta Golf, departing runway 9. We'll be driving straight out. Madison County.
All right. See if we can do this. Nobody coming in either side that I can see. Stick full aft. If we were soft field, we wouldn't stop. We would just keep going. And I'm only going to go 4,500 RPM on this. All right, let's get rid of the checklist. No, I have everything I need. There's 45. Here we go. Nose up. I'm holding it, holding it, holding it. We're off. We were off at 45 because we're light.
Madison County traffic, Twin Cessna 6640 Charlie, line up and wait for departure.
Climbing to my 60, I can go full power now. Now we're climbing out at 60 until we're over the obstacle. And now we're going to nose her down to a more realistic thingy bob, and we're going to raise the flaps. There we go. That was our obstacle takeoff.
Check with traffic.
All right, so back.
Bonanza,
Map.
Triple H Hotel Pop is
Direct to
extended left base
recent
for runway
KTZR direct exit. All right. Let's go a little higher now. Let's go 3,500. Let's set our track. I think I can do that. I want to go autopilot on, track, and I want altitude up. There we go. So we're going to track 111, 600 to, I didn't get the altitude in, 3,500. There we go. All right. That's all that is. Now I'm just going to go on nav because it's a direct to. Shouldn't be much of a leak.
Cherokee 833 to the members about 10 miles to the north. Amend out for the option by county.
Get the power back. And there we go. We really don't need 3,500. I don't know if I can change that. I think it'll stop at 3,000 now because it really hasn't engaged yet. We don't need to go all the way up 35. Worried about that big twin Cessna behind us. I don't know what's going to happen with him. Traffic 1,500 above, which would put him at 4,000. So probably IFR. And let's see, we should level at 3. We'll see if it does it or not. I think I caught that in time.
Madison County traffic, Twin Cessna 6640 Charlie will be joining the downwind, and we'll be departing out of the downwind to the west.
Okay, no factor.
That's 5 Victor Alpha, base for 23.
Yep, he's still 1,500 above, probably 1,000 above now. Yeah, down to 1,000 because 4,000. He's 4 miles out, 1,000 above. He's the Hun in the sun. Can't see him. And yes, we're going to intercept at 3,000, so I caught that in time.
Middletown traffic, Skyhawk 355 Victor Alpha, final 23, touching go middle.
All right, so we can do our cruise checklist if we want to. Checklist. Back, oops, back, cruise, level off with trim, airspeed accelerate desired flaps, check up, throttle set RPM to cruise, so I'm going to pull that back a little bit, we're over 5,000, engine gauge is checked, everything's good, oil pressure's rock solid, everything's good. So we can go back to, we can actually do a pre-landing checklist. God, I'm swinging my hand around. Landing, well, descent, so here's descent, throttle reduce as desired, obviously, airspeed as desired, obviously, flaps as desired. Below 82 knots. You can put them down below 82 knots, otherwise leave them up. Descent should be made with power to maintain cylinder head temperatures in the green arc and the oil in the green arc to avoid windmilling the engine. That's fine. Let's look ahead to the landing checklist. Seat belt, pilot, and passenger should still be on. Brakes check firm. Now that's something I didn't used to do. That's a cap thing. Want to check and make sure those brakes haven't just sprung a leak while we were flying. Ignition switch both on. Don't know why they wouldn't be. Unless we'd been doing something, you know, stalls. I don't know why. Throttle as desired to avoid creeping. Well, that's fine. Trim as required. Flaps as required. Approach speed 55 to 60. Touchdown. Main mules first. Hold nose off as long. Hold nose wheel off as long as possible. After touchdown. Stabilator control full aft to hold the. I guess some braking action. I guess I don't know. Put some weight on the wheels, and then brake as required. I don't really do that one. So that's our checklist.
County Skyhawk 92 uniform, departing 9, will be downwind departure westbound.
Okay, he's going west also, that's good. So we're going to go to map, we're going to go to info, we're going to go to comm. There is no AWAS, so we're going to just dial in the tower. So tune that in there, we'll start monitoring that. That didn't work, that was ground. I want tower, there we go. Tune comm, tower, all right. Verify, KTZR, ground, KTZR. I got it when I was out flying a couple weeks ago. I got the wrong frequency on the runway again, and didn't check the little tag to make sure I had it right. Ended up trying to land on a runway with an airplane departing the other way. So good eyes, but bad on the radio. So verify those identifiers. So we're on tower. I don't hear anything happening. We're just about Lily Chapel. kind of hazy. There it is. Yeah, that's Lloyd Chapel. I'm going to give him a call, and he'll clear us, report a 2-mile left base for runway 4. That's my prediction.
Bolt Tower, experimental 284 Delta Golf, Lily Chapel, inbound landing.
Experimental 284 Delta Golf, Bolton Tower, report 2-mile left base to runway 4, wind 120 at 5, altimeter 3043.
Report 2-mile left base, runway 4 Delta Golf.
3043, so we're back up to that. Now, I'm on track to go to the center of the airport. Don't want to do that. I want to set myself, I'm actually on nav, so let's reset the track. I'll hold that down, go to track, there we go, and boost us off to where we can fly a downwind. And we'll make that about a 90-degree deal. I can see the extended center line right there, so I'm going to make that, well, pretty much 90 degrees. Okay, there we go. Now let's see, 3,000 feet, and we are 6 miles out. We can go down a little, well, we can stay here. I'm going to go ahead and pre-select my altitude. I'm going to make 1,800. Pattern altitude is 1704. Let's verify that. MIF info. Pattern altitude 1704. 1704 is silly. We can go to 1700 and just ignore the 4 feet. We'll do that. A little bit early, although I see the runway. We are 5 miles out. I'll slow down a little bit. Well, we can manage our vertical speed, so I'm going to tell, go ahead and let's go down. And we can do 500 feet per minute, but what's going to happen is, as we start going down, a little turquoise arc is going to show up out in front of us, and it's going to show us where over the ground we'll be when we reach that 1,700 feet. Well, it's supposed to, there, no, it's supposed to do that. There it is, right there. We want that to be a little bit out here somewhere, like where we would be on a base leg. Don't let me forget to report 2 miles either. But you guys, I'm going to track over a little bit more. That's pretty far out. All right, so that's looking pretty good. That's going to get at pattern altitude just about where left base would be. If it gets too close to us, I can just add a little power. Or I could take some off of the vertical speed. I can do it either way. I'm going to add a little power. We're in that rough area, that kind of a resonating area, which might possibly be solved by getting a dynamic prop balance. Vans wants us to get our airplanes have a dynamic prop balance done. I'm willing to try it once and see if it works. I don't know if I want to do it every year. It's not cheap. But not everybody gets this vibration around this RPM band. I get it. I know other people get it. It could have to do with the prop balance, so I'm willing to give it a try. If I'm going to have to do it every year per the service letter, 25 hours, I forget if it's some mix of those, some only mix of those. We've got 3 RV-12s at Bolton alone. There's another one up at Delaware. There's one in Jackson. And a dynamic prop balancer costs less than $2,000, and it costs $300 or $400 to have it done. I'm not sure we wouldn't want to just band together and buy one of those things. I'd like to know it's going to make a difference first, though. Kind of torn on it. All right, let's get rid of the autopilot. Well, let's let the autopilot finish the descent. Why not? And we are 3.1 miles. I usually call it 2.5 because I suspect that's towards the middle of the airport, not way out here. And he really is just trying to figure out where to look for us. Yeah, we're pretty far out. There's 2.5.
Bolt Tower, 284 Delta Golf, 2 mile left base, runway 4.
Experimental 4 Delta Golf, runway 4, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 4 Delta Golf.
All right, now we get you down. Here's the base leg. The problem with a base leg entry is you don't get slowed down to flap speed in the downwind. You got to do it now. You got to get slowed down on base and get your flaps down now. And it kind of...
Bolt Tower, 734, Quebec Foxtrot, one short, report.
He's got time.
So 734, Quebec Foxtrot, Bolton Tower, turn left on course, yep. Runway 4, clear for takeoff.
I figure you have plenty of time.
Course, 4 Quebec Foxtrot.
4 Delta Golf, traffic cessna on the runway 4 departure.
4 Delta Golf, traffic in sight.
Nobody golfing today. It's 37 degrees up here, makes it 40 something down there. I mean, come on, it's a pretty day. Well, it's windy, but I shouldn't care. My neighborhood looks good. Our grass is still green. I'm not having to mow it much anymore. I got one more mow to do. I don't rake leaves. I just chop them up with the mower and let the wind take care of them. It works for me. All right, wind is going to be from the right, looks like. Kind of a right quartering on the nose, so that's good. Fairly strong, about 7 or 8 knots, I think he said. Gonna kind of ease into our final here. Got a Ohio State football game tonight. I think it's a home game because the banner toe has been busy. He's been in and out all morning. Oh yeah, good crosswind. Now we don't want to land on the numbers here. It's a long walk back. We're going to extend down the runway a little bit. I don't have a checklist for really long runway landing.
Full tower, do you want a left turn out?
You proceed on course.
On course, left turn out. Work back on.
Up to you, in other words. All right, we're flary. Oh, here we go. Oh, that was smooth. Hardly felt that at all. Left Alpha 3, Alpha to Charlie to ground, Myra ground point 8. Alpha to Charlie to ramp.
Experimental 4 Delta Golf, turn left to Alpha 3, taxi to Brighton Beach, taxi Alpha Charlie to the ramp, Myra ground point 8.
Left Alpha 3, Alpha Charlie to the ramp, Myra ground point 8, 4 Delta Golf.
Oh, my radio sounds good today, doesn't it? That's the guy. He's the one that was so helpful when I've been struggling through these radio problems. He commented on it last time. Wonder if he didn't notice today. All right, well, there's a shutdown checklist. I guess I can look at that. Because I turned a lot more switches off than I used to. I used to leave a lot of stuff on. It's a lot more predictable with other people flying it. If we all do the same thing. So it's going to be throttle idle. Check ELT light is off and check on 121.5. I'm reluctant to do that for fear I'll leave it there. Okay, so we're good. So I got to take that back to 121.8 so I don't leave it there. And then I need to monitor the ground like I told him I would. All right, avionics off, autopilot off, ignition both off, nav strobe off, landing light off, EFIS off. It'll do that by itself when I turn off the master switch, but if I want to do it myself, I just hold the button down. Master switch off, flight log update. That's to remind guys to write in the book because I'm charging them per hour. We're sharing costs. I mean, I'm not making any money at it, but the plane wasn't getting flown enough, honestly. I just need somebody else to fly it. Oil door prop open. That's to let the heat out of there so the voltage regulator doesn't burn up. Alright, so that's easy enough. I'm going to turn this off. And that's it. Let's get rid of that. I want to go back to screen map page. There we go. I don't want to leave it that way or somebody will get in here and not know what happened. Alright, so that's it. Thanks for riding along. Hope it was informative. Despite the tribulations, oil pressure's holding nice and steady now. I think that might just be either the cold or a wiring problem. Hopefully it was just because it's cold. Anyway, whatever.